Hi, this is Joy Truscott. I'm so glad you're here. This is going to be a beautiful little webinar. We're going to talk energy. I'm going to give you a sense of how I read energy and hopefully give you also a sense of how the energy has moved in the last while. It's very, very significant to me that our energy systems that we have been experiencing in our own unique expression of self is also expanding into the consciousness, the global collective. And this seems to be a parallel that we need to pay attention to. So be with me now for the next little while, and I'll go through what I see in the energy patterns. And perhaps there is some information here for us that might be of benefit to us as a species. Is that I've called this a wave energy. And the reason for that is that it seems to be moving in a pattern. And this pattern, it seems to be significant. When I first began to see a pattern arriving, it was so unusual for me. Because in all the decades of reading energy and connecting in with people's individual imprints, I was able to see a set pattern, an indicator, and to look deeply into their system to see where the energy was blocked and where flow needed to come back, or healing or releasing needed to come in to their system so that they could function better. And then a magical thing happened. Around about August, September 2017, I noticed something happen. A person came to me with a very specific energy pattern, and I could look through it and give them the indicators and help them with that. And on they went, and the next session, a little while later, the next person came in and I saw the same energy pattern. This doesn't happen. Normally it is so unique to the person and to where they are. And yet, this is what was displaying itself, a very same energy pattern as the person just before. Okay, clear the room, clear the energy, smudge the room, do all the lovely energy things that we do. And then the third person came in, same pattern, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, in a row. And then I was like, oh, wow, this is too bizarre for words. I honestly didn't know how this could be. So then the assumption was that I was broken and that I couldn't read energy anymore. So closed down my space, went into deep meditation, asked for guidance. Is this where I'm meant to continue to work? What is happening? And I got some really interesting information. So let me share that with you. And I think this is important for us to look at how this wave energy began so that we can get a sense of what it is that is awakening in us and through us. And perhaps this gives us an indicator of where we are to move as we move now into a higher evolutionary awareness of our being. This is an interpretation from the perspective that I have in the work that I do with people who are close by and people all around the world. It seems to be consistent no matter where we are. As I was observing the energy vortices, the movement and the spin and the health of the energy center, I noticed that there was a disconnect energy. Normally, if an energy center is open and vital, then you can see an open flow, clear, vital energy in that chakra. But if the energy is depleted, you would see a running out energy. And sometimes you would just see a very stuck, disconnected energy. So in the first energy wave, this is what people were saying that they were feeling. There was a lot of body pain, more body pain than I'd ever seen before. In fact, more breaks, more disruptions, and particularly on the right-hand side. was incredible to see how many people had had shoulder operations, hip operations, knee operations, foot injuries. Oh my goodness, arms broken, predominantly on the right-hand side. And then there was this desire to be alone, this solitary need, just get out of my space. I need to be in my own space. I just can't have all these interruptions. I can't have people. I can't have clutter. I can't have chaos. It was this desire to get into their own space. And this energy was a sense of disconnecting, this wishing to be insular. And then along with that was a sense of feeling isolated, but also unsure of the self. A little bit of anxiety around that. And low energy, very low energy, chronic fatigue in so many people. When I looked at the pattern, this is what it looked like. When I show the arrows going left to right across the hips, that to me is the disconnect energy. So the energy was showing in this way, a disconnect at the base, the second, the solar plexus, the heart, the throat, the brow. And when it got to the crown, the energy turned to a still point energy, the highest vibration we can hold at this time. The energy literally comes to a point which is movement that is so fast that it almost looks like it is not moving, and yet it is the most significant energy we can hold right now. And seeing the still point energy at the crown and then down both sides onto the arms, almost as if there was a triangle energy that was being held on the top of their being. And this was the marking energy, the still point, this high point energy was holding the person, even though they felt incredibly disconnected, discombobulated, not wishing to be involved and connected to life. In this space, we are to be reassured that nothing is a mistake, and nor are we. That we are truly entering into a space where we are being asked to stop. We are being asked to disconnect from everything that is around us so that something else can come in. There needs to be a relaxing into it and allowing energy. And in this, we develop a deep sense of trust for what is. Not reliance upon self, not reliance upon another, but a deep inner sense of trust that all is as it needs to be. In thinking of this and in expressing this to my clients, the best way I could think about is when that caterpillar turns within itself. No longer can it munch upon these green leaves and just have this one-dimensional view of life. It has had enough. I cannot eat another green leaf. And it stops and it turns within. And that turning within is very much the energy that we were experiencing at that time. And a lot of people are still experiencing that. Turning within and finding another space to be, to release the chaos and the static around us, to become very insular. When people were going into this, they felt that they were becoming very depressed, lethargic, apathetic. And that's not the truth. There was a resting point that their mind-body was asking them to allow for. And the connection into trust was the greatest point here in helping people to be in that space so that they could move through it into the next energy wave, which brings us to the second energy wave. And in this space, there is a tiny shift of energy. Those who settle down, settle into this frequency of resting and allowing, giving self permission to restore, to reconnect. The second wave opened up a different signal. And this was so interesting because after seeing so many in the same pattern, this pattern came in. As we entered into the second wave, oh, I was delighted when I saw a change in the energy. It was so thrilling. It was like, okay, there is something happening here. We're not just stuck in a disconnect. It was really lovely. I had to also exercise enormous trust in the process. The lower chakras were still showing this enormous disconnect. So the base chakra, the sacral, and the solar plexus disconnect energy. But as it moved towards the heart and the throat and the brow, there was a shift of the energy towards the left-hand side, indicating a movement to the feminine side of their being, the feminine energy, the energy of intuition, guidance, connection, this beautiful energy of allowing, receiving, and giving, creative energy. So once this opened up in the higher awareness of the person, there was a little shift in their sense of self, a little sense of hopefulness perhaps, or a little sense of excitement, not just this heavy, disconnected kind of energy. There was an awareness of something changing. However, the body of many of the people said they still felt very heavy and very tired, and they needed regular rest, and they needed deep rest, and they still didn't want to connect with lots of people. They wanted more solitary time, walking in the woods, being on a beach, climbing up a mountain, and being there absolutely alone, looking deeply into nature and just sitting, watching the clouds. This was the sense of the awakening of the creative mind in the upper awareness as we started to tune in to something else. And then wonderful, wonderful third wave appeared. And here in the third wave, we are still hanging around. We're still in our chrysalis. We're still holding the space. And we're allowing. Third wave energy, the person starts to feel a lot better here. The terrible aches and the pains seem to be releasing in the body, and the body seems to be finding its way in a different rhythm. And here the energy moves all the way from the base chakra, all the way to the brow into the feminine energy. And as we move into that energy of allowing, there is an allowing for ourselves to be in this world. We give ourselves permission to stand upon this earth and feel this earth holding us and embracing us. A sense of comfort in the earth, a sense of beauty and wonder, a reconnection. And then in the second chakra, there was the sense of wonder of others and allowing with a sense of grace and compassion, kindness and patience to others at the second chakra. There was a desire for collaboration, a little bit more cooperative energy coming in to the field of the person holding it. And at the third chakra, there was the sense of being able to connect to their life purpose, a sense that there was something for them to do here in this life, and that they weren't just a blob, a caterpillar, aimlessly crunching on a leaf, consuming, engorging, and then resting. And then at the heart, there was a little love, a little like, oh my gosh, something's happening here, like a little breath of fresh air. At the throat, people were really demanding authenticity, speaking of the truth, and they were watching out for hypocrites. So it was really an interesting time because they weren't allowing it in themselves, and they weren't very much allowing of that in others. A little lack of tolerance came in. And then at the brow, there was an awakening of the awareness, the higher thinking, which kept coming in from the second wave, then out into the third wave, and it started to get even more. People were finding they were able to connect even more to those around them. Intuition started to open up. And still the single point, 0 point energy in that beautiful triangle was holding at the top of the crown and down through the body, at the top of the body, like a big triangle, holding us in the most assured space of the divine is with us. We are stepping and standing right in the space of our highest vibrational field. This was the place where a lot of people seemed to stay for quite a while. And it seemed to me that there needed to be a new default setting coming into this third energy wave. There was a desire that we start here to create this as our default setting, where we are more trusting, more allowing, more forgiving, more generous, more gracious in our energy, more collaborative, more cooperative. In this energy field, if we could default to this one, rather than drop down into the default system of fear, struggle, survival, and all the mechanisms that go with that, the anger, the hate, the violence, the greed, if we could settle down and come into a different space, everything was going to be different. So the establishing of the third wave asked us to allow. Just keep trusting and just allow yourself to reconnect and reset your system here. If you look at this emotional guidance scale, you can see that there is a sense of being passionate about life, enthusiastic, that there is a positive expectation, there's a belief and a trust, there's optimism, it's delicious energy, there's a sense of hopefulness, a sense of contentment, and the energy is constantly opening up towards a higher feeling and sense of self. In the downward spiral, you can see what happens here. There's a sense of boredom and apathy, this frustration, this impatience, intolerance, a sense of overwhelm. People were saying overwhelm all the time. It became such a massive word of expression. Pessimism, nothing's going to be right. Oh my goodness. There was worry and blame and shame and guilt. And there was a sense of being discouraged, anger, resentment, rage, retaliative energy. There was hatred inside of a lot of that energy and jealousy. Oh my goodness. Insecurities and a sense of being unworthy. And this fear, grief, and depression. It's a locking in, depleting system. So here we have two systems that are available to us. One is embedded in the frequency of survival, fear, and struggle. The base energy and the system energy that we have created our whole human experience upon. We have endeavored to survive our entire existence of our humanness. And now, if we continue to just try to survive and hang on to that energy of fear and greed and hate, manipulation and persecution, if we hold on to that, we're not going to survive. As a species, we're not going to survive. The shift had to come, and we had to choose it. So when our bodies started to create a shift within them, this was our opportunity to come into that shift and to really find ourselves in a whole new way. And then the trick here was to establish that as the default setting. So here we have the opportunity now. Once there is an awakening of an energy, we have got to start to choose, and choose well, choose really well. Choose how we integrate, choose how we speak, choose how we move, choose with all our heart and all our soul, and choose for our well-being and the well-being of all those around us. Now we come on to the fourth wave. A wonderful time here to reconsider where we're going from the stable point, a new default setting within a higher creative, anticipating, connecting energy frequency. Should we stay in survival, or could we possibly opt for an energy of thriving? Wouldn't that be delicious? To step into another frequency. So when I see these frequencies, they're a little bit like a radio dial. When you imagine listening to a radio, and those of you who are a little bit more in the senior years like I am, will remember those radios with the knobs. We used to turn them forever until you found the next station. So you would be listening to a radio station and you would be tired of that one and you would try and find something different. But when you turned the dial, you had to go across a lot of no man's land, no signals here, no receiving, no anything, but a lot of distortion, a lot of distortion. And so the sound and the distortion was like, you'd hear all these funny sound waves, medium wave vibrations and distortions of sound. And then eventually you'd get to another station. And that was wonderful because now you had something different to listen to. It was just marvelous. So as we go now, we have to tune in to something else. So into the fourth wave. Now the energy shifts again. And here you can see, instead of all the system holding in towards the one side, the base chakra is still holding. The first three centers at the base are holding the feminine energy. We're stepping in, we're allowing, we're creating. It's that creative energy. So there's a lot of feeling like I can, and I wish to, and I'm longing for, and I'm seeking. And then what happened is that a still point energy came in at the heart, the throat, and the brow, as well as the crown, which was so magnificent because all three of these centers now had joined the top center, the 0 point energy, a still point, which is the highest frequency we can hold. This energy, those who stepped into this felt a deep sense of comfort and quietness and inner peace, a peace that passes understanding, but with a desire to really be showing up in the world in the most magnificent way. It was a profound shift from those lockdown, shutdown energies that were showing up before. So it was here that the energy began to stabilize towards the receiving and the standing in the highest vibration of light and love. Truly, this is a transformational energy here. Then the fifth energy wave. So fifth wave energy was wonderful. At this point, the whole energy center lit up into the still point energy, a stillness that was right within the entire being, a stillness and a confidence, a strength, a purposefulness, a declaration, the claiming of their life, and a truthfulness, integrity, honesty, authenticity, not only just experiencing them delightfully within themselves, but lovingly and graciously expanding the energy into those around them, into their workspaces, into their lives, into their communities. Profound gift here to know how to do this and to be able to hold this. So here's a renewed sense, but still we are being asked to allow and trust. This is like a key connection. Allow, trust, trust, trust. Falling back into the wings of angels. The sixth wave. Truly, this was a place that a few came to. I didn't see many come into this energy space, but truly this space is here and it's waiting for us to awaken fully into it. And when I did see this energy wave, it was the entire frequency was in radiant energy, just these bands and bands of radiant energy. This opening of all the energy centers, the vortices were opening and flowing, and seeing the energy, there was this beautiful, strong, aligned and connected energy right through head to toe, and the still point energy at the top, and this beautiful radiant energy holding. And it was here that the absolute knowing is that we are a beautiful energy resource, and we can guide our energy system towards something, like an arrow. If you took an arrow with a dart at the end and you thrust it forward into space, you would want to know that you were going to hit the target. And in order for you to hit that target, This beam or rod beneath the spearhead must be firm and strong. And that is what was happening in the first wave energy. It was stabilizing and bringing us back to a disconnect so that we could reconnect. A disconnect from all our distractions and all the preoccupations that we do, all the games we play and all the behaviors, all the experiencing and the chaos that we create around that. That disconnect aligned us to center us so that we could hit a mark. What is it that we as our own human being and holding the energy consciousness of all humanity, what would we like to steer our energy towards now? If we knew how important it was for us to make this choice and to choose the energy of thriving, this transformation towards our higher self, and the transition that we are experiencing in our mind, body, and in our life, it is absolutely worthwhile. We are moving towards something that is so profound, and we are just getting ready for it. So here we are at the sixth wave, and may this energy wave really embrace all humanity so that we do find out who we truly are. We are divine beings of light and love, and we hold within us the code of the divine. We can walk around and say, I am the very breath of the divine. And truly that is what we are. So may a sense of peace come into you as you hold this awareness. And may we begin to realize that this wave energy is very much on time and a parallel to what we are now connecting into in our global experience of the massive changes that we are all experiencing. We'll talk about that next. So as we can observe, and as I have been observing these amazing energy patterns for nearly 3 years now, and watching them move in the mind-body system, it's been really a fascinating journey observing and recording. And I feel as if our bodies have created a blueprint almost for what it is that we are to move towards. It seems to me that we have already experienced this massive shutdown, this lockdown. And isn't that what we are experiencing globally right now? We are all changing our direction and we're rethinking who we are as a species. And we're looking at how we are beginning to integrate with each other and what it is that we can bring in that would be of great worth for the human species and for all life on this beautiful planet. When we experience a shutdown energy, which was so prevalent and so obvious in that disconnect to the whole mind-body system, it echoes the system in the environment, the global awareness that we are experiencing now. And then this uncertainty in the second energy wave, when there was so much uncertainty, there was a sense of just sitting in goop and not knowing who we are and where we're going and what was going to happen. And then the third wave energy is pretty much where some people have come to. And in that space, there is a sense of settling in and saying, but we want something different. So we've got to dream it in. We've got to start to imagine what that might be and awaken our imaginal cells. Just like the caterpillar, all those cells in it, they are imaginal cells and they create this beautiful butterfly, which is truly the symbol of transformation. So as we are going through these and as we have been going through this in our being, and many are still coming into this wave pattern, so as we are entering into it, we must remember that it's not linear and it's not sequential. Nothing in a transformational process is just a linear process. It is a getting accustomed and getting used to it. So there is a sense of settling in, making space and going through all the processes of letting go, releasing, allowing. And that takes a while for us. And we will find ourselves moving here and back and here and back. But that's okay because it's like a muscle. Think about a muscle that needs to be exercised. Come on in and your muscle gets strong and it contracts as you are strengthening it, and really hold the power there, and then release and let it go and it elongates. It is that constant movement within the body, within our systems, that creates growth and strength, and it awakens our courage. And that's what we need, is a lot of courage. And then if we can go into the fourth wave, where there's this little shift of our higher awareness, our creative, imaginative thought, and enter into the fifth wave and allow ourselves to connect into our higher awareness, who we are as a being of love and light, and let that information come into us. And then, hopefully, we will get to the point where enough of us are holding a higher vibrational energy, a still point energy, in the holding of a space. It's like a candle in a dark room. Once that light is illuminated, it is seen in the darkest recesses. If there is nothing else that you can think of to encourage you to stay in this process, think about that. Try and release the idea that it has everything to do with you. It has something to do with you. But we are truly doing this energy work within our system. We are upgrading and we are transforming. And the transformation becomes available because some are willing to allow it to come into their own life and experience it as a witness firsthand. It's an amazing time. We've never done this before. We really do not have a roadmap. But perhaps because we've gone through these markers in our body system, perhaps there is a little bit of a roadmap. And perhaps we can gently follow along and trust and allow and trust and allow. May your life, may your journey in every step and every beat of your heart, may you truly find yourself as the divine being of light and love that you are. So much love to you. Namaste. And thank you for you. This is Joy Truscott, and I deeply appreciate you coming on this little journey with me. Thank you.